The steamship Virginia V is the last operational example of a Puget Sound Mosquito Fleet steamer. She was once part of a large fleet of small passenger and freight-carrying ships that linked the islands and ports of Puget Sound in Washington state in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Her original route was between the cities of Tacoma and Seattle, along the West Pass, also known as Colvos Passage, between Vashon Island and the Kitsap Peninsula. Today the ship operates from Heritage Wharf at Lake Union Park in Seattle. History: West Pass Transportation Company. Around the turn of the 20th century, outlying communities all over Puget Sound, particularly those on the many islands, were dependent on small boats and ships for delivering goods and basic transportation. The primary shipping lane from Seattle to Tacoma was along the east side of Vashon Island. Farmers and business people along Colvos Passage in Kitsap County and on the west side of Vashon Island were very dissatisfied with the unreliable boat service they received. In 1910, Captain Nels Christensen and John Home formed the West Pass Transportation Company and purchased their own boat to serve this part of the island. The boat they bought was Virginia Merrill, a 54-foot, 16 meters long gasoline-powered tug. She was renamed simply Virginia and converted for use as a small ferry. The Virginia boats. Virginia was replaced in 1912 with Virginia II, a 77-foot, 23 meters long ship propelled by a 110 horsepower, 82 kilowatts, coreless gasoline engine. In 1914, the West Pass Transportation Company purchased the 92-foot, 28 meters steamship Typhoon and renamed her Virginia III. In 1918, they purchased the 98-foot, 30 meters steamship Tyrus, and in 1920 they renamed her Virginia IV and put her on the West Pass route. Construction of Virginia V. In 1921, Anderson and Company of Maplewood, Washington, began construction of Virginia V. The ship was built of local old-growth fir. She was launched the 9th of March 1922, and towed to downtown Seattle for the installation of her engine and steam plant. In Seattle, the engine was removed from Virginia IV and installed in Virginia V. On the 11th of June 1922, Virginia V made her maiden voyage from Elliott Bay in Seattle to Tacoma down the West Pass. She continued to make this voyage nearly every day until 1938. Storm of 1934. On the 21st of October 1934, a severe Pacific storm swept through the Puget Sound. Virginia V was attempting to dock at Olalla, Washington, when the brunt of the storm hit. The powerful winds pushed the ship against the dock as the waves pounded the ship into the pilings. The result was the near destruction of the upper decks. The ship was rebuilt at the Lake Washington shipyard at Houghton, near modern-day Kirkland, Washington. She was returned to service on 5 December 1934. Camp Sealth and the Campfire Girls. Each summer from 1922 to 1970, with a few interruptions around World War II, Virginia V carried girls to and from Seattle to Camp Sealth on Vashon Island for the Campfire Girls. Thousands of women in the Northwest recall a ride on Virginia V, as she was affectionately called, as the beginning of a camping adventure. Columbia River service and bankruptcy. The West Pass Transportation Company went out of business in 1942. Virginia V, which had been operating for a while on the Seattle-Fort Worden run, was transferred to the Columbia River, where for a brief time she was placed on the Portland-Astoria run, thus becoming the last scheduled passenger vessel running on both Puget Sound and the Columbia River. Her Columbia River career was unsuccessful. Her owners were unable to pay her crew and she was libeled, legally seized for debt owed, and sold at Vancouver, Washington by the U.S. Marshals to pay her owners' debts. Virginia V was purchased by O.H. Doc Freeman and Joe Bowles of Seattle. They resold the vessel to Jack Katz and Captain Howell Parker less than a year later. Captain Howell Parker and the Great Steamboat Race. Captain Parker operated Virginia V, carrying war workers between Poulsbo, Washington, and the Keyport Naval Torpedo Station with his wife Mary as steward and purser. After the end of World War II, the Parkers continued to operate her as an excursion vessel all around Puget Sound. In 1948, the Puget Sound Maritime Historical Society, PSMHS, was formed to preserve the Northwest marine history. As a publicity event, the PSMHS sponsored a race between Virginia V and a similar ship, Gray Line Sightseer, formerly Vashon, to be held on National Maritime Day. The Great Steamboat Race began on May 22 at 2 p.m. at the end of the 5-mile, 8.0 kilometers course that ran across the Seattle waterfront. Virginia V won the race by a small margin. Puget Sound Excursion Lines. In 1954, Virginia V was sold to Captain Philip Luther of Puget Sound Excursion Lines. Captain Luther sold her to Charles McMahon in 1956. McMahon extensively refurbished Virginia V, and then continued to operate her as a commercial excursion vessel around Puget Sound. In 1958, James F. Cy Devaney purchased controlling interest in Puget Sound Excursion Company and took over operation of Virginia V along with several other small vessels. Among these was the McNeil Island Federal Prison tender J.E. Overlaid X Arcadia, built in 1928. Herself one of the last survivors of the Mosquito Fleet, Devaney renamed her Virginia V to match her more famous running mate, Northwest Steamship Company. In 1968, a group of steamboat enthusiasts formed the Northwest Steamship Company and raised the funds to buy Virginia V from Puget Sound Excursion Company. The ship was placed on the National Registry of Historic Sites in 1973. But despite her recognition as historically significant, it was increasingly difficult for her owners to maintain her as a commercial venture. Steamer Virginia V Foundation. In 1976, the non-profit Steamer Virginia V Foundation was formed to preserve Virginia V. The foundation acquired her on 30 September 1980 for $127,000. Major restoration 1995 to 2001. In 2002, the foundation was able to put Virginia V back in service after a 6-year, $6.5 million stem-to-stern restoration project. It included a rebuild of the steam engine, construction of a new boiler and rebuild of the superstructure using traditional tongue and groove fir planking. The foundation was honored in 2001 with the Washington State Historical Society's David Douglas Award for the restoration work completed to date. Present day. Since 2002, the Virginia V has been providing public excursions, private charters, and visits to local maritime festivals throughout Puget Sound. Engine and boiler. The triple expansion, double-acting, reciprocating steam engine is the original, installed in 1922 when it was taken from Virginia IV, formerly Tyrus. The parts were cast in 1898 at the Heffernan Machine Works in downtown Seattle as one of two identical engines built for the Army. The first engine was assembled and installed in the U.S. Army Quartermaster steamer Evan Thomas. Virginia V's engine was assembled and installed in Tyrus in 1904. Indicated horsepower, 400 horsepower, 300 kilowatts. Maximum RPM, approximately 200. Cylinder bore, diameter, 10.5 inches, 270 millimeters. 16.75 inches, 425 millimeters. And 28.5 inches, 720 mm, HP, IP, and LP respectively. Stroke, 18 inches, 460 mm. The original Stoddart oil-fired water tube boiler was replaced in 2000 with a new Babcock & Wilcox oil-fired water tube boiler of similar configuration. Virginia V always used oil as her fuel. The ship originally burned heavy bunker fuel. She was converted to burn No. 2 diesel fuel in 2002. In recent years, the engine has developed a noise referred to as the squeak. While the cause of this noise is not definitively known, it is presumed to come from the low-pressure valve. There are no physical indications of scuffing, galling, or damage to components indicating a metal-to-metal contact. The squeak is more pronounced as the engine warms up, and goes away as the engine speed increases. The problem has so vexed the engineers that they have started a tongue-in-cheek fund, whereby visitors are required to donate $1 to the repair fund if they wish to talk to an engineer about it. This fund may also be diverted to a beer fund, at the discretion of the engineer. Working pressure, 200 pounds per square inch, 1,400 kilopascals. Capacity, 10,000 pounds, 4,500 kilograms per hour of steam. Fuel, No. 2 diesel oil. Fuel consumption, approximately 20 to 50 US gallons, 76 to 189 L, 17 to 42 imp gal per hour. See also, historic preservation, list of National Historic Landmarks in Washington, list of U.S. National Historic Landmark ships, shipwrecks, and shipyards. References: M.S. Klein, Steamboat Virginia v. Documentary Book Publishers Corp. 1985. Roland Carey, The Sound of Steamers. Alderbrick Publishing Co. 1965. Roland Carey, The Sound in the Mountain. Alderbrick Publishing Co. 1970. Gordon R. Newell, Ships of the Inland Sea. Binford and Mort Publishers. 1960. Jim Faber, Steamer's Wake. Annette I. Press. 1985. Delgado, James P. The 1st of April 1992. Maritime Heritage of the United States NHL Theme Study. Large Vessels, Virginia v. PDF. National Park Service. Retrieved 26 February 2016. Clifford, Candice. 1991. Accompanying photos. PDF. National Park Service. Retrieved 26 February 2016. External links. Historic images from online collections of the University of Washington, Virginia v. Captains Harry Wilson of Sightseer and Howell Parker of Virginia v. Preparing for the Great Steamboat Race of 1948. May Parker and Captain Howell Parker on his birthday. Websites: the Steamship Virginia v. website, the National Parks Maritime Heritage Program Virginia v. page, History link, Online Encyclopedia of Washington State History.